Ma Guru Vishnu, Guru Devo Maheshwara, Guru Sakshat Parabrahmam, Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Sadashiva Samarambam, Shankaracharya Madhyamam, Asmadabcharya Paryandam, Vande Guru Paramparam. Om Saganavavadu, Saganaupunaktu, Sakaviryam Karavavakai, Tejasvina Vadidamastuma Vitvishavai. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Vasudevendra Yogindram Natva Jnana Pradam Guru Mumukshunam Hidarthaya Tattva Bodha Abhidiyate. Namaskaram, good morning to you all. So we are in the Tattva Bodha session. Today we are actually finishing the aspect of Shravanam in the Jnana Yoga. What is Shravanam? Shravanam is, what is Jnana Yoga, first of all? Jnana Yoga is the path by which we understand, assimilate, and internalize the import of Vedanta. So, like Bhakti Yoga, Karma Yoga, the process by which we go through this process, the internalization of the Vedanta, is in 3 steps. I would say 4 steps. The first step would be the adhikaratvam, the qualification to know this, because this is such a subtle science. One has to really equip one's mind and intellect to be sharper and purer. Therefore, the adhikaratvam is the first step, so that is given for granted. But there are 3 steps. Shravanam is gathering information. The purpose of Shravanam is to remove ignorance, right? So when we talk about Jiva, Atma, Ishvara, all these things we did not know before. So when you are gathering the information from a guru, from a book, from the teacher, from satsang, you are in the Shravana stage. So we have been doing the Jnana Yoga all these days by inquiring, by listening to the knowledge from the Vedanta. Hopefully it has removed certain ignorance, given new information for it. But it is not sitting comfortably yet, because ignorance removal is the first step, but samshaya nivritti, removing the doubts, is a second step. If it is not doubt-free, you can never have a knowledge accepted by you wholeheartedly, is it not? To internalize it, you need to really remove all the doubts. The second step is called mananam. So here today, by talking about, what is the subject we are talking? We are talking about the Jiva, Ishvara, Aikyam. So therefore, today we finished the information about the Jiva, Ishvara, what they are, who they are. And then it raises questions in our mind. And we will take the next session to talk about those doubts. But we may have a much bigger doubt. You know, I had a question on a different discussion with somebody yesterday. Why at all we, especially this Desis Indians with Vedic knowledge as a background, we claim that, you know, everything is in Veda. We must study Veda. We should really prosper by going through this process of learning. What about people born in other countries? Are they not happy? I mean, there are many people in this world who don't even know about the Vedas. They lead a beautiful life. They live comfortably. They are good people. We're talking about the good people only now. They are not studying Veda. They are not spending their time on the Vedanta session. So why can't I be just like that? I don't believe in God, and I want to be a good person, do things right to the family, to the friends, to the society. I live happily. Why do we bring in Vedas into this? And by the way, what does Veda got to do with my life? This is a bigger doubt, So if you don't have these doubts cleared, there's no point in clarifying little doubts on the text of the Veda. Even many Indians, many Vedantic students, learners, even the scholars, they still have the thought in the mind, is it all worth doing it? I'm spending my time in going through this process of learning instead of spending time on doing something else. So this doubt clarification is mananam. But how do we clarify this doubt about the overall approach to Vedanta? We need to go back and think about the purpose of life. It is only two things for everyone. First one is called dukkha nivritti, that you want to be free from any grief, any fear, sense of security. When a child is born, I saw in one television program, the surgeon just picked up the child with the finger. It is holding on to the little finger because it wants to survive. The instinct of survival is the main thing. Fear. So therefore, we need the means to achieve our security, be free of sorrow. This is the artha. We know that. The second goal is sukha prapti. We discussed all this, but I want to bring it back so that you can place this discussion today. So dukkha nivritti is one goal. So therefore, I need to have resources to give me the protection and the free from tragedy. Then I need sukha prapti. I need to be enjoying life. Therefore, I need to have the objects of happiness. Therefore, all comes to the same thing, that I need to go out and bring things that will make me happy, fear-free. These two, we call it artha and kama. There's nothing to do with God. It's all about us, about the world. So in one part of the world, they teach you ethics. They give you morality, legality, then you follow through. In ancient India, which is much before all these legal systems evolved, everything is in the Shastras. Therefore, it tells you about what will give you the artha, what will give you the kama in this world. Then they thought about it, because if you do something to get things done for yourself, obviously you expect the results for yourself, because it is what you've done. Therefore, you take ownership of what you do. Is it good or bad? If you are the owner of the action, you are the owner of the impact. But what happens, there is always a time latency between the action and the results, is it not? It takes some time. But the life is not guaranteed. Therefore, if I do something before the results come in, I'm gone. What happened then? The first law, which says, I own the action, therefore I must earn the results. The law has to hold good. Therefore, in the non-Vedic tradition, this has not been very well thought through in those days. Of course, in the material world, we don't really care about it. But there is a fallacy in that, if you just say everything ends in one life. Therefore, they say in Sanatana Dharma, don't worry, you will not die, you will come back with another body. What you did this time, the good and bad, will come back to you. Now you can see, this is a knowledge which only Vedas give. That's the reason why you can live happily without going to Veda. But if you want this thing called satyam. Satyam means continuity. You want to have continuously this happiness you need, even beyond this birth. What is the method for it? Then the Vedas tell you, okay, that's called punya. It's called dharma. So if you do right things in a right way, you create dharma. So our goal is changed from artha kama to dharmartha kama. So what is dharma? How to do it? These are again Vedas give you. Again, you look at it, there is no God in this. It's just an instruction manual telling you what is the right thing to do to guarantee you happiness in this world and the life here and after. You always have questions when you have somebody telling you this. How do you know this? How do you know that the punya will come? Only to answer this question, there is a need to have an authority to balance your accounts and give you what you need to have it. Therefore, a clerk, efficient clerk is there. We call him Ishvara. He is a karma bala datta. But then you think about it. If he has to know everybody's account and balance it out, he must be extremely, supremely powerful, sarvagyan. So whenever we see someone who is better than us in a particular aspect of it, we revere them. That's the right thing to do. Therefore, if someone is so powerful, we must worship him. Then came the bhakti. Then came this importance of having God as a principle so that you can go about your life and making good things to be happy forever. That's the reason why in this world, don't worry about somebody who is not praying to God, not going through the sastra, being happy. Yes, they're happy. But you knowing something more than him, you can accumulate these punyas to be perpetually happy in the life to come. But in this 7.1 billion population of human beings, a 0.1% may be thinking about, well, this is just a perpetual journey of grief and happiness. There must be a purpose behind it. So why is that I'm entrapped like this? Why is that there be somebody accounting for my good and bad? Why can't I be free of all those things? When you ask that question, you come to Vedanta. The Vedanta tells you, yes, therefore the fourth principle that you have, that if you want to be in this kind of a perpetual cycle of samsara and be a good human being, follow the dharma, karma. But when you are bored of it, when you start thinking about a way to be free, when you raise this question, you don't have an answer for it. See, question is a boon. To seek is a boon. Seeing is a very simple thing. Seeking is very different. The thirst for knowledge is very, very difficult to come. Don't undervalue yourself, because the very reason that you are interested to listen to this is because you and I may be forming into those 0.1% of the population. So when we ask the question, now you are getting into the Jnana Yoga. This question you are able to ask because by the virtue of good deeds that you have done, your parents have done, many janmas that you have done, I have done, you are able to ask those questions. You are able to be directed towards the Jnana Yoga part. So in the Jnana Yoga, we therefore started this Tattva Bodha Grantham to study. So we studied, you listening to all this, whatever little I know I'm saying, and then you study other books. You are now collecting a lot of information, and we are converging to a point. The point is, I am Jiva, the world is there, and there is a Ishvara. I know all this information now. What am I going to do? So we will read this one, and then from here, we will take the Mananam part. Sthula Sarira Abhimani Jiva namakam Brahma Pradibimbam Bhavati. Sayeva Jivaha Prakritya Swasmat Ishvaram Bhinnatvena Janati. Avidyopatihe San Atma Jiva Idi Uchyate. Maya Upatihi San Ishvaraha Idi Uchyate. Evam Upati Vedat Jiva Ishvara Veda Drishtihi. Yavat Paryantam Tishtati Tavat Paryantam Janma Maranati Rupa Samsaro Na Nivartate. Tasmat Karanat Na Jiva Ishvaro Veda Buddhihi Svikarya. Okay, this is what we need to read the meaning of it. So what did we saw last class, if you remember? We saw the Jiva. Just quick summary. Jiva, Jivaha is I, yourself. It has got two parts, the Chetanam part, the conscious part, and then the Achetanam part, or the Anatmika part. So the Anatmika, the Anatma, which is basically my subtle body and the gross body, is not me because it is inert. But I get an identity with this, an emotional identity. So we saw this one. Then we also saw the Ishvara. It was a very telling comparison because Ishvara also have the two parts, the Chetanam part, consciousness, and the Achetanam part, which is the Jagat. Because the world is Ishvara. Remember, see, if you have anything other than Ishvara, if anything other than God exists, then God is not omnipotent. There's something exists beyond the God. I'm not saying everything exists is unreal. Real or unreal is only a relative phenomenon. We thought about it. The dream is real when you are dreaming. So reality got a correlation to the relativity. Let's not go there. But if there exists something forever other than the God, then God happens to be powerful than me, but he is not all that powerful. The God should be able to assimilate, destroy, integrate anything outside of him. If you accept that one, nobody denies this, all religion accept it. If you accept it, then the ultimate stage is Aikyam Satyam, Aikyam Advaitam. It is not something that we can teach and comprehend, because the moment I teach, the moment somebody teaches somebody, then there is Advaitam. Therefore, Advaitam is an Anubhuti. Anubhuti is different from Anubhava. Anubhava means experience. Say, every knowledge doesn't give you experience. Sometimes not all experiences give you knowledge. See, when I say sugar is sweet, it's a knowledge I have no experience of it. And when I eat sugar and somebody said this is sugar, I experience sweetness, I have a knowledge that it is sugar, then I make a decision, therefore, sugar is sweet. So that knowledge comes after the experience. So experience happens in present, knowledge happens after the experience is done. It's called Anubhavam. Anubhavam happens in the mind, it's a thought. But Anubhuti is where the experience and the knowledge are one and the same. Kandara Anubhuti, they say. Skanda is the Lord Subramanya. His anubhuti means his grace is bestowed upon you without any knowledge. You are feeling the bliss of skandha. You are one with the ecstasy. It's anubhuti. So we talked about the Ishvara. The Ishvara has got a similarity in structure. You got the same three states of experiences. And we say that the Jagat is the dream of Ishvara. You don't need to question about this because there's a time for mananam. Right now, we listen to this. When I am awakened, I have a real empirical reality. When I am dreaming, I create a dream world. In my dream world, things are existing, they are experiencing it, and I'm also watching it. And I have a deep sleep state, which I have no power. Everything is wiped clean on my slate. Avidya takes over, and it makes me completely slave to this. When I come to the Ishvara also have a dream. Most of the time you see Narayana is not standing there looking at you. He's lying down, he's sleeping, half sleep. Shiva is meditating, half sleep. So in that dream is a very imagination. See, very important to understand when you understand Vedanta and when you later you learn about Yoga Tantras to get qualification of your mind. One of the important tools you will be given is the capacity to visualize it. Visualization is very, very important. If you go to management school, they teach you, one big chapter is there, creative management. How do you visualize things? So therefore, don't feel ashamed to say, don't think it's unscientific. When you visualize something, it gives you better knowledge. So in Ishvara's visualization, the whole world appears. Therefore, we are in his dream. It doesn't make it unreal for us, because for us it's the empirical reality. For the Paramarthika Satya, it is a dream. And when he decides or when she decides to wake up from the dream, everything is gone and merged with him. Pralayam. So therefore, the three states are there. Again, what is the Karana Prapancham? Is the Maya. So therefore, we can see Jiva and Ishvara, both has got a Chaitanyam part and Achetanam part, intellect, consciousness part and the inner part. Both has got three experiences. So therefore, we can talk about Jiva Ishvara Aikyam or Jivatma Paramatma Aikyam. But before we start about the Aikyam, because our mind is always thinking about the difference, because we have been taught from day one that you are limited. More than that, many religions preach you are a sinner, papi. They always hammer you that you are inferior. So our whole setup is that I am limited. So when you become a dasan, a very disciple, because you think you are limited, that is not right thing to do. That's not spiritual progress. I can't remember who said that. I think there is one of the speaker, English guy, I think he made a statement that what is the spiritual progress benchmark you can do? It's very interesting, this one is. If you are in the habit of saying that everybody else is responsible for your grief, or someone else is responsible for your problems, or something else is responsible for your problem. If you always say that, that means you have not even started your spiritual journey. You can study Vedas, you can do everything, but in your practical life, if you find fault in others, in other things, for your grief, you have not entered the spiritual path. And there are few who say, look, oh, this is my karma. This is my mistake. It's all mine. So there are those who take the ownership, the blame on themselves for all their problems and all their griefs. It is me that who is doing all this. I am. Of course, they are better than the first one, because at least they will live harmoniously with others, because you don't have a fight with others. But again, they are not correct, but they are at least in the spiritual path, because they have taken the ownership. They have taken the ownership, but they still have the ahankaram. See, sometimes people mistake ahankaram is not vanity with arrogant. No, it's not. Even if you say, look, can you sing this song? No, I won't sing. I won't sing because I feel shy. I won't sing better. When you do all these things, it is also called abhimanam, ahankaram, because you have so much of identity with yourself. Please don't take it and criticizing that part of our character. I'm just trying to give you a way to improve. People normally think ahankara means arrogance. No, even undue humility, delimiting yourself is also ahankara, because you have a false notion of that something belongs to you. But at least you are in the spiritual path because you started taking it. Obviously, you know the third step. So one who does not blame anything at all, not myself, yourself, anybody, but take everything, bring it on. For him, there is no need of spiritual progress. He's already progressed, spiritual area. So therefore, but what I'm saying, I drag this back. So the reason I started this was because before we look at the Aikyam, we look at the differences, because we always look at the differences. You know, you look at our attitude, where is the difference? Diversity is what we need. So let's see what's the difference. So Jiva is a reflected consciousness imposed by ignorance, consciousness. So there is a light of Chetanam, awareness, and there is a mass of darkness, ignorance. The ignorance got a very subtle layer of mind. Anything subtle will reflect. Therefore, this light is reflecting on this subtle mind. It gets animated. I am now Raja, I'm talking. It's me. I am the knowledgeable person. I say all this. So this is Jiva. So let us take the Jiva as an example. So here you can see the faultless, blemishless consciousness is transformed, I should say transformed, manifested into a reflected consciousness as Jiva. Why? Because of this ignorance. It's called upati. In Sanskrit, the word upati means anything. Upa also has got a lot of meaning. So upa means, for example, friend, near. Upati is that comes near to something else and impose its own character onto that. An example. Look at the water drop and a flower there, or a spaticum. That crystal, that flower, the crystal or the water drop or the object which is completely transparent takes the color of the flower. So here, the upati is the flower, the limiting adjunct. So it looks indigo color now. If you put a red flower, it'd be red color. Blue color is a blue color. So if you do not know the flower, if you look at that glass, it becomes an upati imposed object. So Vedanta says that our embodiments are acting as a limiting adjunct. Our subtle body and the mind, the gross body, when they are reflecting, when they are near this Atma. What is near the Atma? Is the gross body or the subtle body? Imagine for this example, visualize it. Atma is something internally in your hridayam as a little light. Okay, I'm just giving an example, right? It's light, and the mind is inside, and the body is outside. So which is closer to the light? The mind, subtle body. So therefore, the mind acts as a upati more than the gross body. Gross body also upati. That's why you can see me when I walk, you can say, oh, that is Raja going, because you see my body, you don't see my mind. But Vedanta says, this Atma is going, the upati is imposed on the Atma. Therefore, the difference comes because of the upati. Do you understand? Do you understand the reflected consciousness also? Very important to understand, because you take the moonlight, in the night, for example, night is completely dark. Can you see the sun? You can see the sun. Where? You can see the sun in the moon. The moon is basically reflecting sun. Same way, mind is the reflecting Atma, reflecting consciousness. Therefore, if you look from the mind's point of view, it is reflecting the light. If you look from the light point of view, it has got impacted by this upati. So you can see this relationship. Therefore, to understand the difference between Jiva and Ishvara, we look at the upati. So I'm going to make it very simple, because we will discuss this in detail later. So this is Jiva, for example. The Jiva is conditioned by avidya. Avidya is ignorance. The ignorance is imposing us. Don't ask the question, why is ignorance? Why can't we have intelligence all the time? Why is ignorance? Suppose if I say, look, do you know about this particular book? I ask you. Oh, I didn't know. Good to know it. Now, if I asked you, can you search since when you are not aware of this book? You would say, what's the point of it? It makes no sense. I was unaware. Ignorance was there. Now you show me some I got, the ignorance is gone. For me, more important thing is the ignorance should be gone. To Sri Ramachandran in Yoga Vasishtam, Vasishta tell him, Rama asked the same question, why is the ignorance prevailing in everybody? He says, Kuto jadeyan idite Rama, mastu vicharana. Don't ask this about ignorance. Imam kadamaham hanmityesh de vicharana. How am I going to get rid of this ignorance? So, take it for granted, we are all limited by the avidya, ignorance. But we are not alone. We are an infinite number of jivatmas. There are a lot of jivatmas, jiva rasis, every small insects too, the human beings. Everyone is entrapped into their own domain of ignorance. So we are the king of the ignorance. We are entrapped in the shell of ignorance. But if you take all the jiva rasis, all the universe, everything else, they are in the Maya. Understand? Now you can see, when I use the word Maya or Avidya, it may be synonym, but Maya is the entire domain of God's power. One of the Shakti of Maya is Avarana Shakti. Shakti to hide things. The effect of Avarana Shakti is Avidya. Therefore, a little fraction of Maya has come as Avidya to us. Therefore, when I say Maya and Avidya, the scale is very different. Avidya is my ignorance, your ignorance, the total ignorance. Maya is, the total ignorance is the power of Maya. Okay, understand? So the whole world is therefore Maya. It changes. Therefore, you can never understand this Maya completely, because it is full of pockets of avidya. Every discovery will lead you to find something else to disprove the previous one. Now, all Maya is contained within Ishvara. Now, compare the Ishvara's picture and the Jiva's picture. In Jiva is entrapped in avidya. Ishvara controls, holds the tag of, if you take the Maya is a bulldog, Ishvara got the leash. But he is also, he tied up to the Maya. The leash he cannot give up. The moment he gives up the leash, what happened? Maya is gone, Ishvara is gone. Gone into where? Gone into the Brahman, which is there everywhere. You can't put a picture, you can't write everything. It is everything. So now you can see Ishvara also exists when there is Maya. The moment leash is gone, Ishvara has gone into Brahma. Maya Rakita Ishvara is Brahma. Maya Sakita Brahman is Ishvara. This is all Shravanam. You have a lot of questions, yeah? We'll solve those problems. But now you understand, avidya is ignorance. I am tied up in ignorance. Therefore, you see, you can see it is completely circle. I can't penetrate it. I can't get out of it. Bhagavan says in Gita, you can't escape my Maya. But I can let you escape the Maya because I'll give you something. What I'll give you? I'll give you the Buddhi Yogam. I'll give you the Jnanam. Basically, he will send you to a guru. If you are praying to God, give me the liberation. He'll say, yeah, excellent. Now you come back to me. Very good. Now you will see this satsang. You will see this book. You will see this guru. You will have this question. So he will direct you. So now you can see the upati for the Ishvara is Maya. The upati for the Jiva is avidya. We know avidya is part of Maya. Now, when you are comparing two things, you don't compare by which it is constrained. Because once you know the constraint, when you do the operational research and you do the kind of a project research, you have what kind of objective constraints. What are the constraints in this project? Then you take them out, put it aside, because your design have to work around the constraint. Because you don't know point. It's a constraint given. I'm not going to solve it. I'm going to leave it aside. Because why? There is okay, I won't digress it. It'll take some more time. So you can actually use few things in understanding things. A variable called lemma is called in mathematics. Something is introduced on the problem beginning, problem is solved, and what is introduced is gone. So when you're talking about us and the Ishvara, Jiva, Ishvara, Aikyam, everything else is unnecessary. Maya, world, everything is gone, will be gone. But we need to use them because the moment we talk about Jiva and Ishvara separately, already there's a duality there. Maya already exists. But we have to use this Maya, we have to use this avidya, we need to use the world, knowing that as a lemma, they will all disappear as a mithya when there is an anubhuti. What is anubhuti? When you are one with the experience. Therefore, we will labor this point about Maya, Vidya, all these steps, but we will also be negating them all the time. There's no conflict. So if you are not understanding it, you'll run away because this is all nonsense, because they say it is illusion, Maya, but then say it's not real, then they are studying it. No, understand very clearly. You need all those things. Now, this one also, Bhagavan says in the Gita, Paras tasmat tu bhavo anyo vyakto avyakta sanadana. Beyond the vyaktam and avyaktam, beyond the manifest and unmanifest. See, Ishvara and Maya, they are both manifest and unmanifest. Ishvara will come and go. Maya will come and go. Beyond that, there is something. That's what Bhagavan says. That is a Brahman. So all these gods, that's why Krishna comes and gone. Why is Krishna is not there anymore? Uddhava is asking. Uddhava knows that Krishna is going to go. When the Yadava clans are fighting, hell broke out and they're all killing each other. So Uddhava says, look, Krishna, don't go. What am I going to do? Uddhava, then Krishna chides him, tells him off. I thought you know everything. He teaches him Uddhava Gita. For him, Radha is Bhakti. That's why we say Krishna, Radha. Why don't we say Arjuna Krishna, or Kuchela Krishna, Uddhava Krishna? We say Radha Krishna. Radha's Bhakti is very different. Radhas don't need Krishna. Of course, we picturize it, the Viragadabam, everything is to see him, but they are seeing him all the time. They know that Krishna cannot be not gone anywhere. Why? Because he will be the Brahman. The moment he takes the Maya whip and comes to the world and they do the Maya Seshtas it does, he'll be gone. So Ramana Maharshi, somebody asked the question. Ramana used to stand up in the night because he doesn't sleep. For him, there is no night or day. He used to stand there in the windows, is watching the Tiruvannamalai. Today is Thirukarthika, so it's nice to talk about Tiruvannamalai. Someone asked him, Bhagavan, you are looking at Tiruvannamalai. Annamalai is considered as the Lord Shiva himself. What happens if Ishvara comes in front of you? And he says in Tamil, don't play this silly tricks, and he'll send him off. It sounds very weird, isn't it? I mean, if God comes in front of us, we want to ask so many things, right? We think, honestly, if God comes in front of us, we don't know what to do. First thing we will do, we'll suspect him. Is he really God? Can God really come? It's a very strange and human irony. We worship God, we seek God, we go everywhere. Himachalas, Ganges, we do all these things. We want to see God. But God is very confused. He doesn't know how to come in front of you. If he comes with a forehand, everything, and you say, I see God, and he comes to you because you want to see him, others cannot see. You say, I see God, everybody calls you mad, and your ego comes in. Maybe I'm illusioning. Maybe it is my mental problem. You start taking more tablets and you want to be better. If God comes to you as a human being, because you deal with human being, he comes there with the thing and he teaches you something. He said, how can he be? He's just a human being. How can he be God? So we shun all those gurus, shun all those great people who teaches them. They cannot be God. Can it be monkeys, lions, cows? Well, we think, okay, they are not as intelligent as I am. They may be godlike. So because of our samshayas, our doubts, our immaturity, I can guarantee you we will never see God. Therefore, if you take the pursuit of seeing God, we have to keep the door open. We have to be, if God is everything, God can be anything. Is it not? I know what a great scholar, he's a great one believer of one God. He will not pronounce other God's name. How insane it is. That is why when even Tattvamasi is a Mahavakyam, we are going to talk about it. Tattvam is Mahavakyam. It says, you are that. Shvetaketu was told this one 9 times by his father. The 9th time he realized it. I read it 200 times. Nothing comes to my mind. Why? You can have all the knowledge. Jnanam evam kaivalyam. The moment you know, Bhagavan says, the moment you understand this, at that kshanam, you are liberated. You listen to Gita 200 times, you listen to the tape recorder. You get more worry. At least before you didn't know Gita, Vedanta, worry comes in, you worry. Now you know Vedanta, some of Gitas. Worry comes, you still worry. You worry more because having learned all this Vedanta, why am I still worrying it? That's because our doubts. We have not opened our mind. We are not really thrown away like Draupadi could not. Draupadi was, when the Chadana was pulling her sari off to make her, what's the time? To make her bad, she's praying, Kanna, Krishna, give me, help me out. Nothing happened. At some stage, some ecstasy, some anubhuti came in. She gave up both hands, the hand that holding her sari. What will happen if she doesn't hold it? Somebody's pulling it. You become, ridiculous. No, but you know the story. So to give that kind of absolute surrender is very difficult. But this is what is important. It's not important to learn many slogas, many sutras, many knowledge. There's only one truth. How many ways you can say this? You can say in 200 ways, 2,000 ways, 2 million ways. But whichever way you come, you have to come to the same truth. So there's no point in learning so many books, so many sastras. But what is important to learn is, if that is the truth, how I can take the next step towards that. So what is needed is to take that step, not to having more knowledge how to walk. You need a walker, you need a stroller. But to make the journey only, we are now making this Mahavakya is going to come, is that they are the same. Now let's now look at this thing, because this will finish the Shravanam. Let's see what is said now. With all this, what we discussed, now the literal meaning will come out very easily for you. Sthula sarira abhimani jiva namakam. Now, you know yourself. Sthula, gross, sarira, body. So he takes the Joe Bloke, the first one, who hasn't even gone to the Vedanta class. He doesn't even know anything else. For him, he is the body. Abhimani. Abhimani means one who identify with. Abhimanam is identification. So Sthula Sarira Abhimani. One who identify oneself with the body. That means everybody else, everyone else is Jiva Namakam. That person's name is Jiva. Absolutely simple, common sense. He packs everything else. We know more about it. You can explain now to anybody what this sentence means. You can say, it's not Sthula Sariram, Sthula Sukshma Karana Sariram. All that you can go, because you know all those things. But simply, Jiva is that person. Then he adds, Brahma Pradibimbam Bhavati. He is not only Sthula Sariram, he's got a Sukshma Sariram, which is very subtle. On that, Brahma Pradibimbam Bhavati. Pradibimbam. Bimbam means the shape. Pradibimbam means the reflection of the shape. Bhavati means has come. Whose reflection? Brahma's reflection. That is the consciousness. Therefore, now the Jiva's definition is getting better. Sthula Sarira Abhimani, in whom there is a Brahma Pradibimbam exists, a reflected consciousness exists. He is Jiva. So this one sentence only, we labored in the one whole class yesterday, last week. So now you know it very well. Sa eva Jivaha. He is that Jiva. Prakritya means naturally. Swasmat Ishvaram Bhinnatvena Janati. Janati means he knows. Prakritya Janati. In naturally he knows. Swasmat. By default he knows. What does he know? Ishvaram Bhinnatvena. I am different from Ishvaram. Again, it's common sense. Nobody told us that you are the same as Ishvara. All of us have been taught Ishvara is up there somewhere in the heaven. We are small sinners. So naturally also, we come with the limitedness because of the avidya. So now he's building, you see, this is the student's mind, the teacher is saying. He is going to take you to Mananam. He is now building the doubt. I am the Sthula Sarira. I have the Pradibimbam, I understand. I can reflect consciousness. But I always think that I am different from the Ishvara. Why? Avidya upatihi san. In Sanskrit, the word san means endowed with. Avidya upatihi. Avidya is limiting adjunct, which is the ignorance. That the Atma, this consciousness, that Atma which is with the upati of avidya, iti means quote, uchyate, it has been told. So what has been told? The Atma which is got limited by the ignorance is Jiva. What we saw before. Jiva limited by, Atma limited by avidya is Jiva. Consciousness limited by ignorance is Jiva. Iti uchyate. This is what you're told. Yes, this is what you've been told. Then, Maya upatihi san Ishvaraha iti uchyate. He's saying, okay, this has been told. What is told? Ishvaraha is similarly conditioned by the Maya upatihi. Okay, this also you understand now. So now you are told about Jiva and Ishvara using the upati. There's both have got a upati. For the next one. Evam upati bedat. That means because of the upati, the difference due to upati, Jiva Ishvara, Sandhi, if you remove the Sandhi, Jiva Ishvara Beda Drishtihi. Upati Bedat. Because of the upati, only, Eva means only because of this upati, Jiva Ishvara Beda Drishtihi. The difference between the Jiva and Ishvara exists. In other words, if you remove the objective constraint, if you remove the Maya and the ignorance, there only remains consciousness, which is in me, in Ishvara. Therefore, there is no Ishvara, there is no me. It is Brahmam eva Satyam. This is what been said in this statement. Now, what is the point of knowing this? Yavat paryandam tishtati. Yavat paryandam means until such time this is known. Tavat paryandam, from such time to such time, until such time, if it is known, Janma Maranadi Rupa Samsaro Na Nivartate. Okay, it's good. Now, Janma Maranadi Rupa Samsaro. Now he defines samsara. Samsara means Janma Marana, birth and death. The cycle of birth and death is the grief, samsara. Na Nivartade. Nivarti means got rid of. Na Nivartade. It is not gone. So Janma Maranadi Rupa Samsaro Na Nivartade. That means samsara will never go. When? Yavat Paryantam Tishanti. Tavat Paryantam. Until such time, the difference between Ishvara and Jiva is Tishtati, exists in you. If you keep thinking, I am different from Ishvara, I am limited, whatever the upadi reason, until such time, what will happen? You will be entrapped. So you can pray to God, you can do all the puja, you can do all the yajna, you can worship, you can never live out of samsara. What about if I am just become an angel? Yes, it's a samsara in a different world. You become a Darshana Dasha of Shiva Ganas, Vishnu Ganas. Yes, you are samsara in a different world. If it is not samsara, why should a Deva born in the world? Why did Hiranyakashipu came from the Deva? So you have the condition of living may change. Here in 100 years, maybe a human life, 120 years maybe. In Indraloka, maybe 1,000 years. In Satyaloka, maybe not 1 million years. Doesn't matter. It is still a samsara. So it's a very, very big statement made that when you have this difference in your mind enshrined by everything around you that you are limited, even if you take a practical help, imagine you, when you finish this class, you say to yourself, I'm not limited. I'm not a sinner. I am as good as anybody else. It changes your perspective. Because once you start assigning that to yourself, that purity comes in, you will not be able to see somebody else faulty. Forget about God, forget about all this moksha, everything else. For a day-to-day life, it transforms. Vedanta is all about transforming a day-to-day life. Otherwise, it's just a waste of time. Why learning all this cryptic language, paradoxical text, having dictionary to remember all this? Why should you do all these things if it doesn't change us? So this change, if it happens every day, every minute, what happens? Bring it on. Any Mahavakyam, the moment it comes to you, you're known. Then Veda Antam. Vedanta means end of Veda. You don't need Vedantam anymore. There's a secret in the Vedantam. The word Vedantam, there are two words, Siddhantam and Vedantam. Literally, they have same meaning. Siddham means mind. Siddhantam is what you contemplate, argue everything, and bring out, this is my decision. Siddhantam. Saiva Siddhantam. Vaishnava Siddhantam. Sankhya Siddhantam. To make the Siddhantam, you can use the Vedantam, everything. You can do all the text. So it is a belief based on intellectual scrutiny. End of thought, Siddhantam is. Should I go to this place or that place? And somebody says, that place, finish, no more thought. Siddhantam is, go there. Vedantam, literal meaning, other meaning is, Veda means knowledge. Vedantam, Anda means end. End of knowledge. Veda is knowledge. End of knowledge is end of Veda. You see in Gita, when you do last chapter, there are some paradoxical slogas. Bhagavan says, give up all the duty. He had been preaching him all the 17.62 verses. He has taught him, do things. Then he says, give up everything. Forget moksha. There's no moksha. There's no liberation. There is no prison. There's no samsara. That switch is very easy to realize when the transformation happens. See, the adhikaratvam is not something you go to like a gym, every 8 to 9, I'm going to be in a Shadashambhati. I want to learn this Shanti, Dhamma, Sama, all that. No. They all have to happen in every action that we do. Every action we do. Okay, so now therefore he concludes, Tasmat Karanat, for that reason. What reason? That you are being differentiated by yourself, that you are limited. For that reason only, you have a difference. If you remove that reason, Jiva Ishvara Jivosvara Beda Buddhi Svikarya. Now you bring it there. Na Svikarya. Tasmat Karanat. For that reason, Jiveshvara Beda Buddhi, that I am different from the Ishvara, that Buddhi, na Svikarya. Svikarya means it's not your karyam, not your action. You take somebody's action. Assume responsibility. Swikaryam. So you take over. We always take things because somebody told you to do that. That's why somebody told you, worship God who's in heaven. So you worship them. Here says, na svikarya, don't take all these things. What you don't take it? Jiva Ishvara Bedam. So he has now given this to the Sessio. So he is finishing the Shravana. Shravana means what? Information gathering to remove the ignorance. What is ignorance removed for us now? Ignorance is removed that I am not limited. You're not convinced about it. I have been thinking I am limited. I never know about the Jiva, Ishvara, Maya, Veda. I never know about this different tattvas about sarirams. So all this ignorance is gone, hopefully gone to all of us. Therefore, my Shravanam has given me the benefit that I have lost some of my ignorance. But then he finished with a very beautiful and challenging statement. Therefore, to go away from the samsara dukkham, dukkha nivritti and shuga prapti forever, you need to remove the difference. In other words, you and the Ishvara, I and the Ishvara is the same. Now, this has to be proven. Before we prove this one, we get into because the moment we are proving, that means we are now placing the doubts. How am I same as the Ishvara? So therefore, he will introduce the Mahavakyas. So we will go into the Mahavakya Vichara. Again, we are going to go in a very briefly because remember, Tattva Bodha is Prakarana, elementary text for us to get into the Vedanta. But even though it's elementary text, it is the Upanishad by itself. Therefore, we can get the complete knowledge in Tattva Bodha itself. But at least we know what we need to focus on in the future study. So I would close it now. What I have said so far is to finish this Smarana. On the next session, we will take Mananam. Mananam is removing doubts. So, Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. May I ask Lakshmi to say the Shanti Pada?
Okay. Namaskaram. Om Asato Ma Sadgamaya.
Om Asato Ma Sadgamaya.
Tamaso Ma Jyotirgamaya.
Tamaso Ma Jyotirgamaya.
Mrityurma Amardam Gamaya.
Mrityorma Amardam Gamaya.
Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.
Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.
Thank you.
Thank you.